Hey guys, what's up? Are you struggling with perimenopause or menopause symptoms? Well, you're not alone. The vast majority of women over the age of 40, and I'm going to even back this up to about 35 these days, are starting to struggle with these symptoms. How do you know what they are and what the symptoms are? And if you have it, what to do about it, who to go to, how to figure out, what you can do so that you're not feeling so crappy anymore. Well, I'm going to take you through all of those answers to those questions because I have been on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, otherwise known as BHRT, for over 20 years. I started having symptoms in my early 30s. This was after I had kids. I had 3 kids. Twin pregnancy was one of them. And a couple of years after my last child, I started having horrible menopause symptoms, so debilitating. And it was a challenge and a struggle back then to find the right person who can help me. And I know that it still is now because I'm hearing from other women constantly having the same issues. And it's so distressing because there is help for you out there. You do not have to suffer through these. So here are some of the symptoms, not all of them, but some of them include unexplained weight gain. All of a sudden, you put on a lot of weight or belly weight and specifically, and you haven't really changed anything. You really haven't changed your diet or your workout program or whatever. And all of a sudden, you're packing weight on. You're like, where did this come from? Fatigue, aching bones. You could be having hot flashes. In fact, you could also be having cold flashes. You can get cold, really, really cold. You could get really, really hot. You're not sleeping. You could have brain fog where you're just like not thinking very well, like kind of similar to right after you have a kid and your brain's not really functioning really well. Trying to think what else there is. There's forgetfulness, shoulder pain, just joint pain. There can be so many different types of symptoms. Now, one of the reasons why you're getting this is because your hormones start to decrease. And when your hormones start to go down and get really low, all of a sudden all of these symptoms start up. And now you're not sleeping. And that just exasperates everything. Because if you're not sleeping, yeah, you're going to be cranky, you're not going to feel good. That can also lead to weight gain and all these other slew of things. So what do you do about it? Well, you think, if I just go to my gynecologist or OBGYN or endocrinologist, they can help me. Maybe, probably not. I'm going to tell you the hard, cold fact about that. And these doctors are not specialists in women's hormones. So my recommendation and what I personally had to do is you need to find someone who specializes, who is an expert with women's hormones, longevity, symptoms, and has seen and gotten the results for women to get them to a better place. And people like that often don't take insurance. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, because the mainstream doctors don't have the time, they're not educated in this area. So a lot of these folks, these doctors, they have to self-educate. They got to figure it out for themselves, which means they got to take their own time to go through the research and to figure out and work with their patients. Now, to work with the patient means they need to take a lot of their time to work with you. The mainstream doctor has to see a certain amount of patients per day, per week, and a certain amount of time, which is generally maybe 10 minutes. It's not enough time. Therefore, going to maybe a functional medical doctor or a concierge medical doctor or somebody in that area, that is the person that can take the time. Meaning they might take an hour or an hour and a half to sit with you, whether it's telemed or in person, to listen to your symptoms, to hear your story, to ask questions, to find out your whole history. So when I first started, I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. Again, this is over 20 years ago because I needed to figure out what was going on. I went to multiple OBGYNs. I went to multiple endocrinologists. I took blood tests. I was on the low end of normal on the blood test, but I was still having these horrific symptoms. No one could help me. Well, you're normal. There's nothing we can do. That to me was just not acceptable. So I finally searched and searched, and I found one of the best doctors out there. It was telemed back then when telemed didn't really even exist. That was, again, 20 years ago, early 30s. I'm now 54. And I found this amazing doctor who has now been specializing for over 30 years. But concierge, cash only. But I said, well, I don't really have a choice. If I want to feel better and I want to do this for my health and my wellness now and for the future, I have to do it. And that's what I did. And I've been on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which means it's not synthetic, which is really not healthy for you to be on a synthetic hormone. So I personally take progesterone, which started out with a compounding cream, but now it's in pill form. Insurance does pay for that, which is fantastic. And I also take testosterone and estradiol compounding cream. Again, those are cash. Insurance doesn't cover it. Insurance doesn't cover the cost of my appointments. I usually have about 2 appointments a year now, and I do blood work, a full panel, which they typically take 12 to 14 vials of my blood because they do an extensive profile. And I do that 1 to 2 times a year. I have really good insurance and it doesn't even cover all of that. And it's really good insurance. But I do it because I need to. And I need to do it for my health because I know what I used to feel like. Now, it isn't always affordable for everybody. And I get that. And maybe I'm fortunate. However, I did go through a divorce years ago and I was more or less wiped out financially and I really couldn't afford to do it, but I couldn't not afford to do it either. It was that important because my symptoms were so debilitating. It was like I was having the flu for days on end without having the flu. And then I would get 1 or 2 good days. It was really bad. Once I went on the BHRT, 72 hours, I was a new person. And it has been the biggest game changer in my life. Studies have now come out that it will help with longevity. It is cardioprotective. It is bone protective. It will protect your cognitive health. And it also, because it helps to bring your hormones up to normal levels, it helps to balance everything out. It will make weight loss easier. Now, with that being said, I still put on weight, especially during that COVID period. I put on weight and it was really difficult to get it off, which is why I ended up going on a GLP-1. Same doctor recommended the GLP-1 to me. Thank goodness that it was recommended to me. Again, you can see my story on all of that in a different video, but in a nutshell, I said no to the GLP-1 initially. I wanted to do it myself, figure it out myself. I didn't want to have to depend on a medication. But after about 6 months of doing everything and like nothing was really working and I couldn't budge the scale more than maybe 5 pounds, I finally went on to the GLP-1 and that's what gave me the leg up. So GLP-1 in combination with the BHRT is really the game changer. And again, this is for women who are starting to go through perimenopause, or if you're in menopause, using the BHRT in conjunction with the GLP-1 can really be the game changer for you. So this has been my personal experience. I am a huge advocate of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It can come in different forms. You can get injection, pellets, cream. There's pros and cons to all of them. You can look into all of those pros and cons. Me personally, the creams have worked really well for me. And I really go on my doctor's recommendation. They are the experts. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this for 30 years. It's all been telemed for me, so that's been a huge thing. So I guess you need to ask yourself, if you're going through this, you really need to find the right doctor, because if you don't have the right doctor, they could steer you down a wrong road. An example, before I met this doctor, I did go to somebody else who put me on bioidentical hormone replacement, and the testosterone that she gave me, and I didn't know it at the time, it was way too much. So when my blood work came back after that with the new doctor, that doctor looked at my testosterone results and was aghast at how high they were. And he literally told me to take that testosterone and bury it in my backyard. I will never forget that. I was shocked. I didn't really feel any different, but if he's telling me my results were off the charts and crazy and I needed to do that, I listened. And he even said to me, you will feel better within 72 hours. And I don't know if it was placebo or not. I don't think so, because I did. Again, I was in my early 30s. I've been on them for over 20 years. I plan to stay the rest of my life on them because I feel amazing. My energy is amazing. Sex drive is amazing. It's really helped every part of my life, and I really could not recommend or advocate for them. I wish that everyone that is having any issues, symptoms, whatever, please look into it and consider doing it, because it could literally save your life. If you have any questions for me, leave comments. I will answer all of your questions. I can talk from my personal experience. If you're interested in hearing about my doctor, you can also private message me, and I will recommend them as well. They are on social media. You can look them up, etc. I'm happy to recommend them because I think they are really the best out there. And if you have experience with BHRT, leave a comment. I would love to hear what your experience has been, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. We could all learn from each other. If you like the video, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe so that you can always be informed of when the next video is coming out. I am going to start exploring new topics in terms of not just weight loss, fitness, and BHRT, but I definitely want to start getting into different things with relationships, as I am divorced, remarried, blended family. So I think that's a whole cool topic to talk about, and has been a huge part of my life and where I'm going with things in the future, and staying healthy is part and parcel to everything. So I hope that you like this. Stay tuned for the next one, and stay strong.